A tug of war over a 6-year-old Cuban boy continues in Miami. The legal abortion rate in the United States at an all-time low, and more people in the United States are not from the U.S. So the Census Bureau is looking for at least 500,000 workers to count immigrants and minorities. From CNN in Washington, this is WorldView. I'm Bernard Shaw. Judy Woodruff is off. The fight for custody of a 6-year-old Cuban boy was taken to the streets of Miami, Florida Thursday. Dozens of Cuban Americans were arrested while protesting the U.S. government's decision to return Elian Gonzalez to his father in Cuba instead of allowing the boy to stay with his U.S. relatives. CNN's Mark Potter has more from Miami.
At first, the crowd was orderly, gathering behind barricades outside the federal building. Several hundred people chanted and voiced their disapproval of the INS decision to send Elian Gonzalez back to his father in Cuba.
We're here because this is not your normal custody battle. The life and the future of a child is at stake.
Shortly afterward, the crowd began to surge forward, through the barricades, through the police officers on horseback who could not hold them back. Moments later, the whole group was moving east through downtown traffic, the police struggling to keep ahead of the crowd, sealing off streets along the way. After making their way several blocks up Biscayne Boulevard, the protesters finally stopped walking at the entrance and exit for the busy Port of Miami. The idea was to stop traffic, and it worked. Many of the marchers sat down in the middle of the road in the name of Elian Gonzalez.
All of us coming out, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, everybody coming over here together to help this child. That's the whole meaning of USA, freedom. Why are we going to have a child go back to Cuba?
This is an unlawful assembly. If you do not disperse, you will be arrested.
Police barricaded the port and then began making scores of arrests. Among those taken away was Ramon Saul Sanchez, a Cuban American who organized the rally.
We will not allow them to shut down the city.
Late in the afternoon, Elian's cousin in Miami, who has been caring for him, urged the community to be calm.
I just say to all of those that are doing this, to keep it down and to have control of themselves, whatever they're going to do, so they don't get into any trouble and there's no problems caused.
But problems continued. West of Miami, there were other attempts to shut down traffic. Police moved in and made more arrests. Mark Potter, CNN, Miami.
Here in Washington, United States Attorney General Janet Reno gave little hope to those wanting to keep Elian in this country. Reno said Thursday she, quote, fully agrees with the decision by immigration officials.
I never say that I won't reverse myself. I try to be as open-minded as I can, but based on all the information that we have to date, I see no basis for reversing it.
In Havana, ordinary Cubans are reacting cautiously to the U.S. decision to side with Elian's father. Our Havana bureau chief, Lucia Newman, reports.
There were no victory parades on the streets of Havana to celebrate the INS decision to reunite 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez with his father in Cuba. That's because of skepticism the ruling could still be reversed, or at least delayed indefinitely in Florida, where the Cuban-American community has vowed to do everything in its power to prevent the child from returning to Cuba. Those people are totally wrong, says this man. Elian belongs to Cuba and should be with his father.
One of the things that really bothered me was when they wrapped him with the American flag, because Elian isn't American, he's Cuban.
The headline of the Communist Youth newspaper reads, "Until we obtain justice, we fight." Hence, the latest of hundreds of protest meetings to demand the return to Cuba of the boy, this one with students and journalists. For the second day in a row, the child's father, Juan Miguel Gonzalez, was out of sight. But CNN has confirmed he told the INS he wants the U.S. National Council of Churches, whose outgoing leader was in Havana this week, to serve as an intermediary in returning Elian to Cuba. The Reverend Joan Brown Campbell has reiterated her organization's and her own personal willingness to transport the boy back to his father, who said he won't go to Miami out of fear for his own safety in what he considers hostile territory.
The solution the INS had been hoping for, an amicable agreement between Mr. Gonzalez and his relatives in Miami, seems unlikely. The child's father has said that there's nothing to negotiate, least of all with relatives he says have betrayed him. Lucia Newman, CNN, Havana.
There are reports of increasing casualties among Russian forces in Chechnya. As Russian troops pressed ahead with the battle for the Chechen capital Grozny, officials said Thursday 465 Russian troops have been killed and more than 1,500 wounded since September. Military officials also said Russian troops repelled a rebel attempt to break out of Grozny, killing some 140 rebels. In Moscow, the presidential campaign is quickly heating up ahead of the March election. The communists Thursday nominated their leader, Gennady Zhuganov, to challenge acting Russian President Vladimir Putin. Mr. Putin's handling of the war in Chechnya has helped make him the front runner. CNN's Eileen O'Connor reports.
Acting Russian President Vladimir Putin began his campaigning earlier this week with his trip New Year's Day to Chechnya. Putin's tough stand against what he calls terrorists has earned him high ratings with the people, something his campaign and his spokesman are eager to build on. Putin himself says this is an anti-terrorist operation, different from the war fought in 94 to 96 against a region claiming independence. Another important difference, the media. Controlled by Boris Yeltsin supporters and the men who brought Vladimir Putin to power, television channels portray Russian troops as more highly trained, more disciplined this time.
Well, the coverage is such that only victories are reported, the casualties are minimal, and the strategy of the Russian military strategies are great.
There are more frequent photo opportunities of kindly yet tough Russian officers visiting the wounded in hospitals. The wounded in the field are rarely shown on TV. Murat Haspaikovich was blinded in battle, but he says he is not blind to the fact that things are not going as well as depicted. For what do we need this, he says, and it's just started. Opposition leaders say with the Russian media so tightly controlled, that kind of sentiment is unlikely to reach the average viewer and voter.
3 months is too short a period of time in order to open the window and to understand what's going on there.
Federal Security Service officials say what is going on isn't propaganda. They show bomb-making components gathered at what they say was a terrorist school in Urus-Martan in Chechen territory. A Casio timer is pointed to as proof it was Chechens with links to international terrorists like Osama bin Laden attacking Russians who began this war. Video of the training ground shows bodies. Russian officials say these were civilians killed because they oppose the Chechen regime. Images to horrify and justify. Eileen O'Connor, CNN, Moscow.
Those peace talks between Israel and Syria are still going on, but the question is, are they making any progress? Our State Department correspondent Andrea Koppel is covering negotiations in Shepherdstown, West Virginia.
President Clinton returned to West Virginia, intending to pick up the pace of negotiations between Israel and Syria. After the U.S. expressed frustration, talks were not proceeding quickly enough. U.S. officials, meanwhile, dismissing reports talks were in trouble, even though none of the newly established negotiating committees had met so far Thursday.
There are a number of ways one can skin the procedural cat, all with the objective of moving us closer to a core agreement.
Secretary of State Albright held the longest meeting she'd had this round with Syrian Foreign Minister Ashara. Syrian sources hinting privately, Ashara was displeased the committee on the extent of Israel's withdrawal from the Golan Heights, a key Syrian concern, had not yet convened. But in a sign some believe suggests progress is being made in this isolated West Virginia conference center, U.S. officials have begun to prepare a working document to record progress made during negotiations.
A working document suggests that both sides are being very serious. It suggests that the issues are highly complex, and it suggests that they are highly divisive issues. And it's precisely in these circumstances that you need a clear text agreed to by both parties.
Important in case negotiations break off, as they did in 1996, without an agreed text on compromises reached.
And so I don't think one can predict the outcome, except to say that I think that they are serious, and we are going to spare no effort to try to move the process forward.
4 days into this round, U.S. officials warn against reading too much into what meetings are or are not taking place, insisting progress is being made, just not quickly enough. Bernie?
Andrea, without reading too much, what's happening right now?
At this hour, President Clinton is meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. He's expected then to go into a meeting at some point after that with the Syrian Foreign Minister Farouk Ashara. We've been told to expect a long evening ahead of us, Bernie.
Indeed, and outside a cold one. Andrea Koppel, Shepherdstown, West Virginia, thank you. New questions have been raised about a NATO airstrike during the campaign against Yugoslavia last April. The target was a railway bridge which a passenger train was crossing. Now, our CNN military affairs correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, now with the latest. Jamie?
Well, Bernie, it was April 12th of last year. A Yugoslav passenger train was hit by a U.S. F-15 aiming at a bridge. At least 14 people, civilians, were killed. At the time, NATO's top commander insisted there was no way the plane's weapons officer, staring at a 5-inch screen in the back seat, could see the train in time to divert the guided missile. Here's the video that NATO Commander General Wesley Clark showed at the time. He said the crew had less than a second, but it turns out the tape he showed had been speeded up, essentially fast-forwarding at 3 times normal speed. The Pentagon says NATO, in a hurry to clear the pilots of any blame, used a digitally compressed version of the video intended for quick review by intelligence analysts. But it strongly denies there was any manipulation or deception. Still, the Pentagon has not released the original video, but CNN has slowed down the compressed version to simulate real time. The officer in the back seat of the F-15 who guided the bomb to its target can see only what's in the center of the screen. And even in real time, he had 3 seconds at most to react. Air Force officials became aware of the speeded up tape months ago, but only explained it after a German newspaper ran a story questioning NATO's account. The Pentagon is adamant, however, insisting the air crews did nothing wrong and that the train tragedy was in fact unavoidable. Bernie?
J.B. McIntyre at the Pentagon, thank you. Air traffic in the northeastern United States was brought to a near standstill Thursday when a computer malfunction grounded scores of flights from Boston to North Carolina. It happened when the main computer failed at a central air traffic control facility near Washington. The problem eventually was fixed and normal operations resumed. Aviation officials say the computer failure was not believed to be Y2K related. Now let's find out what's ahead on the Moneyline News Hour at the bottom of the hour. Here are Stuart Varney and Willow Bay with a preview.
Thanks, Bernie. Coming up on Moneyline, the NASDAQ spends its 3rd day down and dips into correction territory.
And for the first time, a profit warning for America's most widely held stock, Lucent, is down sharply in after-hours trading. We will tally the damage.
We'll also talk to a mutual fund manager who spent the week selling his tech holdings. The question now, should you?
Good question. Well, that's Moneyline. Up next. Now back to you, Bernie, and WorldView.
Thank you, Stuart Willow. Coming up next here in WorldView, the number of legal abortions falls sharply in the United States as the government prepares to give full approval to the French abortion pill.
You can slow the aging process. #1 best-selling author Dr. Atkins explains how in his new book, The Age-Defying Diet Revolution. Prevent age-related diseases. Eat the foods you love. Feel younger. Live longer. Dr. Atkins shows you how.
By refinancing, we save $600 a month.
Being self-employed and a student was no problem at all.
We were able to eliminate some 18 to 20% credit cards.
Superior gave me the help just when I needed that help.
Do what thousands of homeowners have already done. Call Superior direct at 1-888-678-7777.
In my house, I have a stair climber. In my house, I
have a stationary bike. In my house, I have a treadmill.
In my house, a rowing machine.
And they're all collecting dust.
Get out there and explore in your Ford Outfitter. Outfitting you with the most far-reaching sport utilities on Earth. Ford Outfitters. No boundaries.
We process oranges and cocoa in Brazil. Blend and distribute animal feeds on 5 continents. Export North American grain to hungry markets around the world. And produce fertilizers in Saskatchewan and Florida, where our neighbors are flocking to their new home. Cargill. It's not just what we do, it's how we do it.
Oh, Mom, it's great. My first apartment. You should see it. It's huge.
When you've got things to talk about, it's a good idea to dial 10-10-321 first.
And I got a great view of the river.
With 10-10-321, you get 50% off calls over 10 minutes. That's just 8 cents a minute, day or night, and no monthly fees. And at 50% off, you can share every last detail.
And I even have a garden.
Talk as long as you want with 10-10-321.
You can slow the aging process. #1 best-selling author Dr. Atkins explains how in his new book, The Age-Defying Diet Revolution. Prevent age-related diseases. Eat the foods you love. Feel younger. Live longer. Dr. Atkins shows you how.
That abortions continue to decline. Very soon, the government is expected to give final approval to the so-called abortion pill, which was developed in France. Our CNN medical correspondent Rhonda Rowland reports.
The number of legal abortions performed in the United States continues to decline. It was 3% lower in 1997 than it was in 96. New figures released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show the national abortion rate is at an all-time low, 20 per 1,000 women, the lowest rate recorded since 1975. Almost 90% of those pregnancies were terminated during the first trimester. Over half occurred in the first 8 weeks of pregnancy. Since 1990, the birth rate has also declined.
We believe that better contraceptive use accounts for both part of the decline in the birth rate as well as the decline in the abortion rate.
For the first time, the CDC report also contains information on the number of medical or non-surgical abortions. Since the mid-1990s, some abortion providers have offered women the option of using a combination of 2 FDA-approved drugs to induce an abortion, an anti-cancer drug, methotrexate, and an ulcer drug, misoprostol. In 1997, close to 3,000 or 2% of all abortions were induced by medications. Researchers believe the figure is actually higher since not all state health departments track non-surgical abortions.
We have found that for some women, they just regard this as an excellent option, and this is what they would choose and what they would recommend to others. For other women, it's not.
The FDA is expected to soon give final approval to another option, the so-called abortion pill, RU486, which was approved for use in France in 1988. The FDA gave the drug conditional approval 3 years ago. Full approval would come once a manufacturer agreed to produce it. After one U.S. manufacturer pulled out, the Danco Group, a new women's health pharmaceutical company, identified manufacturers willing to produce the abortion pill. People opposed to abortion have raised concerns that the availability of drugs to induce abortions would increase the total number performed. Family planning experts say the new statistics mirror European trends, that non-surgical methods do not increase the abortion rate. Rhonda Rowland, CNN, Atlanta.
According to Planned Parenthood, the abortion pill RU486 will be marketed in the United States under the name Mifeprex. Also, in addition to France, this pill has been on the market and approved for use for years in Great Britain and Sweden. Hopes for normalized ties between China and the Vatican were dealt a setback Thursday when the state-controlled Catholic Church in Beijing openly defied the Pope's authority. CNN's Beijing Bureau Chief Rebecca McKinnon reports.
ordination of 5 new Chinese bishops was a ceremony full of Catholic ritual, but no one from the Vatican was invited, and the 5 men who received their golden staffs and special headdresses did not receive the blessing of the Pope. International press was banned from the ceremony, and police security was tight around the cathedral belonging to China's state-backed Catholic Church, which has no relations with the Vatican and forbids its members from contact with the Pope. A spokesman from the Vatican expressed disappointment that the ceremony has thrown cold water on hopes that relations between Beijing and the Vatican were improving. Last year, Pope John Paul said he dreams of visiting China one day, but Beijing says it won't recognize the Vatican unless it severs ties with Taiwan and stops, quote, interfering in China's affairs. China has nearly 5 million Catholics worshiping in official churches loyal to the Communist Party, but missionaries say millions more belong to underground churches loyal to the Pope. According to the Vatican's news agency, Thursday's ceremony in Beijing was originally intended to ordain several more bishops, but 9 refused because they didn't want to be in conflict with the Pope. Rebecca McKinnon, CNN Beijing.
Later in WorldView, counting America's millions in the year 2000.
There are 7 new people on the internet every second.
Every 4th person on the web is buying something right now.
This month,
over $500 million will be spent. One day, there won't be any paper money.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Virtually all internet traffic travels across the systems of one company, Cisco Systems, empowering the internet generation.
Are you ready?
Leather, adrenaline, the new Lincoln LS. Where it's going may not be as surprising as where it comes from.
Ditech.com puts extra cash in your pocket with their new 125% second mortgage with 0 points.
Use our second mortgage to consolidate bills, pay college tuition, give your daughter that wedding she's always wanted.
A 125% loan means you can borrow more than the value of your home. And 0 points means you'll save a lot of money on closing costs.
That's up to $150,000 in your pocket.
Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
I may look young, but I still suffer from hot flashes. I discovered a natural way to deal with it. New Healthy Woman from the makers of Monistat. Healthy Woman's a soy menopause supplement that helps relieve hot flashes in a natural way. New Healthy Woman.
Online investors say execution is the most important criterion for choosing a broker. So, who's executing your trades? Knight, the world's leading market maker, where the trade gets done.
We are bringing you a new feature, a look back at some of the stories we've covered as CNN marks its 20th anniversary.
Bringing you the world for 20 years. This is CNN.
I remember more the time leading up to the breaking of the record than the actual night that it happened. I spent some time with Red Auerbach, and Red wasn't very happy about his record going down. And Lenny, on the other hand, admired Red immensely, felt kind of strange about breaking the great man's record too. But at the same time as the record was right there to be had, Hawks would lose and the Hawks would lose and the record still wasn't broken, and it just got very frustrating. Finally, when that night happened,
ladies and gentlemen, the winningest coach in NBA.
It was just more a sense of relief than accomplishment.
And he is Brooklyn-born, Atlanta-bound Lenny Wilkens.
One of the things that makes Lenny such a great coach is his adaptability, that he's been able to change with the times, change philosophies, change offenses and defenses. But at the same time, I think he just gets an awful lot out of his players. He'll stand there on the sidelines with his arms crossed like this and just sort of shake his head. And I think the players' reactions, at least some of the ones that I've talked to, has been, oh, I don't want to disappoint poor Lenny, so I'll play a little harder. To win as many games as Lenny Wilkens won, over that space of time, not having the great talent night in and night out, you have to do some great coaching work, and that's just credit to him.
CNN 20 is brought to you by Ford, maker of vehicles that are built to last.
In my house, I have a stair climber. In my house,
I have a stationary bike. In my house, I have
a treadmill.
In my house,
a rowing machine.
And they're all collecting dust.
Get out there and explore from your Ford outfitter. Outfitting you with the most far-reaching sport utilities on Earth. Ford Outfitters. No boundaries.
When WorldView returns, recruiting an army of census takers in the United States.
Oh, Mom, it's great. My first apartment. You should see it. It's huge.
When you've got things to talk about, it's a good idea to dial 10-10-321 first.
And I got a great view of the river.
With 10-10-321, you get 50% off calls over 10 minutes. That's just 8 cents a minute, day or night, and no monthly fees. And at 50% off, you can share every last detail.
And I even have a garden.
Talk as long as you want with 10-10-321.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Bell Atlantic, your guide through the wiles of communications.
Tonight on CNN Newsstand, go back to the old country with Old Brown Eyes, Jimmy Roselli. CNN Newsstand, tonight, 10 Eastern.
He is the sexiest, suavest, most stylish, and sophisticated secret agent.
I put the gar in swinger, baby.
He's Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
Go in for the Shagadelic World Television premiere.
Get jiggy with it.
With footage too cool to be seen in theaters.
It's amazing, Austin.
Mike Myers, Heather Graham, Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me. In demand, you rule.
Our Rivergate Toyota tradition is back. It's our famous push, pull, or drag sale. This means we can offer you more for your trade-in than anyone else. And we even pay on the ones that don't run. So yes, if you've got a car that you can't start or won't run, but you can get it to Rivergate Toyota, we'll trade for it. So get that old junker down here and turn it into money. That's the famous push, pull, or drag sale now, only at Rivergate Toyota, just south of Rivergate Mall on Gallatin Road in Nashville.
Celebrating the new millennium, this is CNN.
The changing face of the United States population is having an impact on the first official head count of the millennium. CNN's Gene Meserve has this report.
The 2000 census will be more difficult than previous ones, in part because recent immigrants now make up 9.3% of the U.S. population.
We have a larger part of our population is non-English speaking. We have a more mobile population than we had in 1990. We simply have more households.
The Census Bureau has been upgraded for undercounting minorities in the last census. In an effort to minimize that problem, the Bureau is trying to recruit minority workers who know their communities, speak the language, and are more likely to be trusted.
Soy nicaragüense.
Soy dominicano.
A $9.6 million ad campaign is being launched. Once you had to be a U.S. citizen to work for the Census Bureau, now legal immigrants can. And the Bureau's employment test is being offered in Spanish. On top of that, the pay can be handsome, 80% of the local prevailing wage, which runs from $8.25 up to $18.50. Despite extensive advertising about the importance of the census, only 61% of households are expected to respond by mail. Workers are needed to go door to door to get data from the rest. But the Census Bureau is fearful it may not find all the workers it needs. The robust U.S. economy is just providing too many other attractive job opportunities. Bernie?
Thank you. Gene Meserve. And for Worldview, I'm Bernard Shaw. The Moneyline News Hour is next.